Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you very much for tuning in, for being so loyal to the closing argument. Our guest will soon be back into the studio. We wanted to make sure that all of our links on Facebook, YouTube, all were connected. As we found out, that was just not the case.
He's back.
But it looks like, yep, there you go. We are all ready. Thank you very much for coming back, Di. Let's go straight. Yeah, let's go straight to this. I know you heard of another gentleman by the name of the late Bishop Bennett D. Warner.
Yep.
For those of you who are not familiar with Dr. Warner, he was a firebrand from the United Methodist Church that was a pain in the size of politicians. But how big that would be? Here we are. This week, sometime we heard that the president or the administration have begun or contemplating or certificating the clergy. That is, if you're going to be called an imam, you have to be legit if you're going to be called a pastor, because your profession is a one of knowledge and credential. Everywhere you go in Liberia, every corner seems to be a prophet, a bishop, and they have bastardized the profession. So I support this 100% the president, that if I'm a social worker and I have to be credentialed, or pastor, you have to be credentialed, why shouldn't the apostles and the bishops and how they call themselves be? I think this is another way for us to get things under control. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm a strong proponent of having an educated church leader. Like you rightfully said, how many of us on the show tonight will go and lay under a surgeon who has not been certified, or take our car to a mechanic without any knowledge of that particular make and model of the car? You know, I think we're doing ourselves, or a teacher, put a teacher in the classroom without any teacher's training. Now, we're not saying that everyone must have a college degree. I don't think that's what we're calling for. I'm just calling for everyone who decides and answer a call, to serve the people, that they go through some sort of training so that they understand that what comes out of them. Like, I keep going back to the fact that we are an African people. All right, we pour a lot into our leaders, whether it's a political leader or a church leader, but most of church leader. It's almost as if when they speak like the Catholic would say ex cathedra, meaning everything that comes out of their mouth is law and gospel, And because of that, I find, maybe you all don't see it, where you are, but the people I engage with, I find some pastors playing on the, I hate to use the word, but the ignorance or the lack of exposure, lack of education of our people, because they spiritualize everything. And by so doing, they put these people in a posture that they are where they are in life because that's where God wants them to be. And to get out of that, they must do X, Y, Z. And the XYZ that they're doing, for the most part, benefits these pastors. I think it's wrong. I really think it's wrong. I think, some kind of certification, should either through the national body, be it the Baptist Church or the Methodist Church, or the council of churches. But where I find most of these things happening, friends, are churches that are not aligned to a institutionalized body. All right. So if you just wake up one morning and say, hey, I feel called, and open a storefront church, they can do whatever they want to do, and there's no regulation. There's nobody to give oversight to them, and they start as pastor and they become bishop and archbishop by week number 3. So, I think we need to look into these kinds of things.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I support the idea. Dr. Peabody, let me welcome Honorable Gongloe. Gongloe, how you doing, Chief?
I'm doing great and excited.
Excellent. Dr. Peabody, your turn.
Honorable Dunn, Dr. Dunn, thank you again. Let me ask you, I mean, let's talk about the Liberia Diaspora Conference that you have been appointed the head of to chair that conference. I know it's a lot involved, but could you just talk to the Liberian people? What's the purpose of that conference, and what do you guys hope to achieve? I think we want to hear that. That's one of the main reasons we brought you on. But yeah, can you talk about that?
Thank you for the opportunity. But I also did know that we would dive into some of the the oration, and that's fine. That's fine. The purpose of the conference, to put it in a historical context, in January of this year, the president gave the State of the Nation address, in which he talked about the importance of the diaspora in national development. And it is out of this backdrop that he is convening this conference. This conference is not being called by a Liberian association or by a committee. No, this conference is really being convened by the president himself. And what he intends to get out of this conference, one, is to share with his citizens living outside of Liberia his own agenda for national development, but to also listen and learn from those gathered as to how they can play a pivotal role in advancing the developmental agenda of the president. So it's twofold, Dr. Peabody. It's the president addressing his people and saying, this is where I want to take the nation, and also saying to them, this is how I believe you can help me move it. So let's see how we can, how the minds can meet. So it's going to be an interactive conference. It's not going to be just everyone talking from the stage. We're going to have a panel groups that are going to be made up of both people in the diaspora and people from the homeland, as well as smaller conversations, because at the end of the day, the desire is to pull all those processes together and produce something as a roadmap as to how those of us in the diaspora can help government advance the developmental agenda of the country.
Great. Let me welcome the Honorable Chief Tomalin George. King George, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to also have Professor Dr. Dunn on our platform. Thank you so much, Dr. Dunn.
Thank you, sir.
You are next on The Price is Right, Tomalin George.
Oh, okay. Again, let me say again, it's a pleasure to have Professor Dr. Dunn. The Liberian Diaspora Conference, as we talked about it and planned for it, people are saying that we have had most of these conferences have been held over the past, and they have been held over the past, and because of that,
God, could we just mute, please? If you're not talking, could we just mute?
Yeah. So people, and as a result of that, people are concerned that Peabody just asks what they were achieved out of this conference, because there have been a lot of problems in the country since the inception of this new government. We have like you try to bring people in the diaspora together. Some are concerned that, for instance, they have officials of government that come up and insult prominent leaders in the country. Prominent political leaders are being insulted. And some of their partisans are concerned that how are we going to go to this conference when our people have been disrespected, and how are we going to unite and come together as one? Your message, like I was driving and listening to your to Peabody ask the question. Your message on 26th day, that's why we'll go in history as one of the best, because you touch on every sector of our society. So this conference in September, what are we going to achieve from it with all that's happening? How are you going to really bring Liberians and diaspora together?
Well, thank you. I think one of the things that we always need to take into consideration is that Liberia will never become the country we want it to be without our involvement. And one of the things I continue to say that it's going to take the collective will and collective effort of all of us. Yes, we will wrestle in the mud, we will fight, we'll fall, we'll get up, but let's get up as a people. So I really do believe that by our coming together, you mentioned certain, you know, undignified conversations that have gone on between, you know, different segments of our community as it relates to some particular individuals. We need to air these things out in a safe environment. For me, I don't own a Facebook account, because one of the reasons why is because I think we become so impersonal in our dialogue. We throw jabs and we throw words at each other. So I think in a space like this, honestly, we can create at least some sense of civility, that we can air all these things in a safe space. Yes, we may snap at each other, but at the end of the day, it's always supposed to be for the good of our nation. I think for somehow over the years, though, we have kind of gravitated away from respecting each other, because you and I can disagree politically, socially, all of the other kinds of ways, but we don't have to disrespect each other. You know, I should be able to say to you, Chief, I think you did this. I don't think you should have done that. But in a way where you receive it. Because I think most time people push back, not so much of the message, but because the way the message has been delivered. And so we put that block. So I think one way that I see this conference being relevant to our time is the fact that we're going to create some opportunities for us to dialogue in a civil way. But let me push it a little further. All right. Once we were appointed to this role to give leadership to this conference, the first thing we did was to do a survey, you know, with certain segments of the diaspora communities around the globe, from Ghana to Australia to Europe to Canada, and some segments here within the States. And everything we're discussing at this conference are things that came from the survey. All right. Now, the survey didn't really surprise me, and I'm sure when I reveal it to you, it wouldn't surprise you. Things on the survey had to do with health, education, investment, voting rights, unlimited citizenship rights, reconciliation, security, tourism, and sanitation. Those were the 9 top things that your citizen as well as mine, you know, shared with us. And we took this and said, now let's, obviously at a 2-day conference, you can't do everything. So what are some of the key things that we need to really roll out so people can be involved? Let's take the issue of health. If you're my age, and I'm 61 years old, and you're thinking about moving to Liberia, you're not really thinking about education. You're thinking about healthcare. People my age, they're thinking about healthcare. Now, if you're Peabody's age, you know, 35, you know, and
Thank you.
You're going back to Liberia, you know, and you have children, you're not so much concerned about healthcare as you are about education. All right. If you work in America and you got some retirement money and you want to stretch it, you know, you can't just leave it in the bank. You want to put it in something that can yield some result. You're interested in what? Investment. You know? If, like what you just said, Chief, where we having these undignified conversation, what are you concerned about? How to bring the country together, reconciliation. So these are the kinds of things that we want to talk about at this conference, to be honest with you. You know, so we're encouraging government to come to this conference with a roadmap, just not an academic presentation. As you can see, I'm pushing the Liberianization policy. I'm pushing that. I think all of us on this network should push that, because it's something that has been abused in our country for years. You have Liberians who are fronting for non-Liberians, you know, where other Liberians could get some of that business. They're out there clinging to it when in fact they technically don't own it. So we need government to come to us and say, these are the things we're going to do to protect you as a Liberian for these sectors within our economy. I'm also pushing the fact that every Liberian should have access to a percentage of foreign concessions. You know, that I believe will help grow our economy and strengthen, you know, the creation of a middle class. That is essential. That is important. Those are the issues that dear to me, because as a Liberian, you know, I don't want to drive down Tupman Boulevard and only 2 buildings are owned by a Liberian when the rest of it are owned by somebody else, you know. And I think we can get to that. Will we get there in 6 years? Maybe not. Will we get there in 12 years? Maybe. 24 years? Maybe. But we have to start from somewhere. And so this conference will cover all of those aspects of our national development.
Thank you. Mr. Gongloe.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Happy to see you, Dr. Don. Should I say Dr. Don? Okay. I hope I'm right, Dr. Don, right?
You're right. You're right.
Okay, so I listened to you. There are many things you spoke about during the Independence Day, but I'm not going to address that for my first question because you just spoke on something that actually just caught my attention. On the question of the government intention probably to regulate or register religious institutions. I think someone raised that, and you tend to support that idea that, you know, other churches are just coming up, people who are not prepared, people who may not be professional preachers, who may not have the training, the established institutions, right? And I tend to disagree with the government position on this issue. And here is the reason. And I will want your comment on this.
Right.
You know, today, the overriding issues in Liberia today is not even whether people establish non-traditional churches to preach. Anyone preaching. I think preaching, establishing organization, I think it's a constitutional right. It's a question of free speech. This is how maybe somebody will choose to express themselves to their fellow citizens. That, okay, I'm going to organize an organization, call a church or call anything. Like the question of civil society organization. People just come with any name and call themselves civil society organization because the Constitution guarantees a right. So it's the same with establishment of institution. So for me, that is not an issue. If the government is serious, you have the government in post-war Liberia in 2006 came to power. President Joseph Boakai was vice president for 12 years, presided over a legislature. That legislature, by count, has expended more than $700 million without accountability. I would think the president should man on this issue and say, you know what? We are addressing the past as we're addressing the present. We'll walk and chew at the same time. I am ordering an audit of the legislature. Whether it's beyond the statutory period, we'd like to name publicly and shame how people have used our money. By record, most of the alleged millionaires today in post-war Liberia have come from the legislature. Most of the mega farmers today in Liberia have come from the legislature. They were never before they entered the legislature. What are your thoughts?
Well, in all honesty, I will stay away from that, and I'll come back to your previous statement. Is the government actually calling for licensing of churches? I'm not aware of that, and I didn't call for that in my oration either.
No, government. I don't think government is not calling for that.
After Independence Day.
No, but for the record, government is not calling for that.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Yeah,
I haven't heard. I haven't heard.
For that. No, to be honest, and for the sake of this platform, when the government is not calling, we have not heard that from government yet. Government is not calling for that. No.
All right, I'm going to search the paper now.
Yeah. I would be interested to hear that as well. No, and I don't think that's what we're saying, Mr. Gongloe. I think what we're saying here, though, free speech is free speech. All right, when that speech affects the individual. All right, But when utterances affect a mass of people, it no longer becomes free speech. When you're manipulating people, it no longer becomes free speech. Because you're caring for a people, you're caring for a flock, you're caring for a all we are saying is people who care for congregation should help the congregation, all right, to move from one state to another. Their lives should be improved, and not just spiritual. All we're saying, Mr. Gongloe, is that our churches today must be able to help develop our people, and across the board. It's just not one sector. It across the board, and that's what we see. No, I don't think we calling for people to be licensed by government. I don't know where that came from.
But Dr. Don, even as that is a question of free speech, there are others who are not Christian, who are not Muslim. They don't even go to church.
Correct.
Sunday morning, they are playing soccer. They are selling in the market. They believe in different council, religion. They practice different stuff. So if I organize an organization in my community and I call a church and whatever, and I say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Come here, we'll pray for you. Your problem will be solved. That's free speech. It's a right. People can
it is the right. It is the right. It is the right. It is the right.
Mr. Gongloe, the church, the state also has the responsibility to protect its citizens. If you follow the Jim Jones scenario here in the United States, where the United States fell flat on her face by not regulating and taking care of what they were supposed to do, and this young man took citizens of the United States into Guyana, where he murdered dozens of folks. The United States had to send in the U.S. congressmen and women to go and fetch their citizens because they have let their guards down. The government also has a responsibility to protect its citizens. And if you have people who are coming and this is a feasting on them, some looking at feeble-minded, feeble people and saying you're going to fast for 40 days and 40 nights, knowing very well that is against the health of somebody who have not eaten for days, and thinking that this is happening. You talk about thousands of folks. So the government has a moral and legal responsibility to protect its citizens. That is not free speech. That is manipulation.
All right. I will leave that. Let other ask question. We'll move on because I know this is a question of natural rights and free speech.
Great. Mr. Nagbe.
Post presentation.
Mr. Nagbe, your turn.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Dunn. When I made my first input, I don't believe I congratulated you on the masterful and very meaningful delivery on Independence Day. Congratulations. You did a very wonderful job. So I know you intend to meet with the union, and that is Yola. I work for the union. I'm in charge of diaspora affairs. So my office is supposed to interface with you directly.
What is the advice on diaspora affairs?
All right, that's our resident diplomat. But we had a meeting last night. We're preparing to meet with you. I got to tell you, the union's relationship with the government of Liberia has been, at best, lukewarm. At best, the office you're coming to last year, the program that was held in December in Liberia, which Dr. Kula headed. We had all intentions of being a part of that program. The planning process was very complicated, very difficult to understand, it to say the least. You did what we requested Mr. Williams, Erasmus, and the office and Dr. Kula to do, which was the communication that you sent to us, explaining to us what it is that you seek to do in that office, and also soliciting our participation. So I got to say, I'm not speaking now officially for the union, but we appreciate that. I just have to let you know that. What is it in your estimation will be as close to a successful interaction with your office, which is the 2025 Diaspora Return and the Union of Liberian Association in the Americas? What would you classify as some success at the end of the interaction engagement?
Thank you so much. I think sometimes, and it's good to air these things out because clarity at the end of the day is so good. And the first clarity I have to make, Emmett Lafayette Dunn, I have absolutely nothing to do with the diaspora return.
Okay.
I'm not part of that committee. I've never associated with it. I'm not saying to be negative. That's just not my assignment. My assignment comes from the president's office. He has asked me to superintend the diaspora conference, a one-time event in DC in September. That's why I'm on this show to talk about. So I cannot speak. So the letter that I wrote to EULA was inviting EULA to work with my committee in, executing the conference in September. Has nothing to do with the December return.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you. Let me welcome Mr. Robert Garguah, another man from District Number 3, Grand Bassa County. What's going on with you Bassa people today? Welcome, young man. You are muted. We can't hear you. Can you talk?
Yeah.
Now we can hear you.
Awesome. Great. It's good to be back on. And it's awesome to be. It's a privilege, I think, to be engaging with Mr. Don. Firing speech the other day. Have some favorite lines and some unfavorite lines that I heard from you, and I know that you're here to specifically talk about the diaspora conference, which I think is critical to national development. But I'm also hoping that you're able to spare some time to further discuss some things you mentioned in your speech. But overall, great speech. Right, so I'll wait my time.
Before Robert, we got 15 more minutes. Dr. Dunn supposed to leave at 6, but he agreed to give up 15 more minutes. So
okay, guys. So let's go to the diaspora thing because that's why he's here. Dr. Dunn, when we talk about the diaspora, you say you did a survey. How was this survey done? Because I never heard of it. I don't know if anybody here was engaged with the survey. How was the survey done?
Well, we use several different. Granted, it was not a massive survey over the entire USA, but we sent it to the different Liberian platforms, and we got well over 1,500 responses from people here in the States. We got a few from Europe, we got a few from Accra, and we got a few from Canada. So we had a good sampling of the diaspora, So that's what happened.
Great. We got 15 minutes, guys. Let's talk about the diaspora conference.
Yes, thank you. I think Woody was saying something. Woody, I haven't spoken yet. He said anyway. I'm going to take the fire. Thank you, Dr. Don. You spoke. We back to the diaspora conference here. And you said the president directly asked you to organize this. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes. Do we have, because, I listened to you. It was a very passionate speech, and I was very well marveled by the way you structure it. This conference coming up, who is going to sponsor it financially? Is this the governor of Liberia?
Well, we are seeking sponsorship from partners that support some initiative that the government is having. This is not going to be. There's no budget line item for this in the government budget. If that's your question, so we are seeking sponsorship for it.
Yeah, but
yes, I believe the government will. I believe the government will come to the table with some money.
Okay, and then I will go in. If the government is coming to the table with some money, do we know in terms of number, what is the president of the government telling you now as to their commitment to this? Because it's going to be a logistical burden on you to organize this kind of a conference, particularly in Washington, D.C.,
Right.
and we anticipate Liberians will come from across the world. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And yeah, so the logistic is what I'm focusing on. If the president told you to personally help organize this, it will come with some financial burden, if you will. Is there any number do we have that you submitted to the president or the president committed to this conference come September? And,
No,
if yes, quickly, sorry. If yes, what is the number? What is your target budget that you want? Because I know you are a very progressive individual, a very honest man, and I will know that you want to engage in something that will tend to be successful. What is the target? What's your anticipation of those that you expect to attend this conference in terms of how many countries are you expecting Liberia to pull off for, and what is the number you're expecting, and what is the amount tied to this conference, if you will? Thank you.
Yeah. First of all, we are targeting 500 participants. All right, and this conference is not sponsoring anyone to come to the conference. The intent of those who will come to the conference.
Please mute while he's talking.
We intend to at least provide some meal service for people who will come. It's free to attend. Registration is required, but it's free to attend. We are in negotiation with two venues at the moment, and depending on where we land, we're going to send a budget, for support. So at this stage of our conversation, no, government have not made any numerical commitment. What government have assured us is that, whatever we want in reason, they will come to assist us. We accepted this assignment because we knew that within our own network, we could help to fund this. And so while the president is convening this, there have been conversation with other entities within government. For example, the National Investment Commission, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of State. As you know, while I'm leading as the chair of the planning team, the Diaspora Affairs Office is the office that we relate to in terms of connecting with government. Right. So there are different aspects of the planning process to which I'm privileged to be given the leadership.
Great. Robert, we got a few minutes here. Robert, you want to come in?
Yeah. Thank you. Mr. Don, welcome to the closing argument. So, can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, good. Thank you. So I think that the idea behind the conference, I think is great, right? My confusion is the objective. For instance, when you look at the diaspora conference that other countries are having, is backed. The objective here is to boost, of course, the economy, and to tourism is an integral part of that. I'll give Jamaica as an example. They've been doing this for decades now, and is of course is led by the foreign affairs foreign ministry in conjunction with trade. So I guess my question here is this like a test drive with regards to the overall idea with the government? What is the main objective behind the diaspora conference?
Thank you for that question. We addressed it earlier, but all due respect, since you asked, there will be other people who just joining in terms of our listening audience that need to hear that. The objectives are very clear. One is for the president of Liberia, His Excellency Joseph Boyka, to engage his citizens in the diaspora. All right. He's going to come and roll out his plan as to how he sees the diaspora helping with the development in Liberia, not necessarily through government. And I just want to make this clear. This is not government rolling out, a plan, say everything has to go through government. No, this conference is about opening up the country and for us to see how we can help in every aspect. All right. There are different ways that we can aid in the development of our country. The other objective is for us in the diaspora to have a voice and say, this is how we see us. We have some issues as well. We have some concerns that we want government to, to listen to. And this is how we believe, these things can pan itself up so that both government and people, can dance together for the betterment of our country. So it's not a conference where we're going to sit and just, it's not an academic conference. It's a conference where government will present and we will present. All right. And we even bring in some experts that are outside of government for government and for us to sit and listen to people who have gone. Like I keep telling people, what Liberia is going through now is not unique. There are countries that have gone through this before that we can learn from. So you're quite right about that. When we have done the assessment of other conversations that have gone on with other diaspora community with their government, we have lessons to learn. And one of it is that when the findings come out of these conversations, they need to be taken seriously and implemented on. And so again, these things will not happen if we stand on the sidelines. We must be able to say to government, look, you're doing well in this area. You're not doing so well in this area. If you want us to be a part of this thing, this is how, we envision this marriage to happen. And so that's what we hope to come out of this conference, a roadmap, a blueprint, an agenda as how to improve the diaspora and government. And I think if we can achieve this, it becomes a foundation on which we can, as you said, move it forward.
Okay, great. Just a follow-up question.
Real quick, Dr. Dunn, do you have a website somewhere where we can Liberia can register?
Yes, sir. Yes, Chair of Media and Communication, Mr. Alpha Tonga is on, and he's going to drop that in the chat group.
Yeah.
I can just say it's
on that. I just want to make sure that you approve you approve this.
Yeah, trust me. My team is working. My team is online working, so they're there. Yeah.
Yeah, Alpha, please get in contact with me, and then we'll share that information.
And just quickly, let me just say this as well to everyone listening. When we were asked to give leadership to this, understand there are many other people involved. The first group I went to was our local chapter here in DC, being led by Mr. Sebastian Tikla, happens to be my association president. And I went to them and I engaged them and invited them to help us. And I said to them, this conference is not for the diaspora. This conference is with the diaspora. That's the philosophy I bring to this space. All right. I cannot speak for past conferences. I can't speak whether the objectives were achieved or not. And I'm sure they did it with good intentions. But all I'm saying to those who listen to all of my brothers, you got to get some women on this network, man.
We had
some women here.
We got some of them. They came to take a little break.
You got two, okay. Mr. Gongloe, you got two. To all my brothers here, give us a chance. That's what I ask of you. Give me a chance. Give us a chance, so that at the end of the day, you can say, yeah, you deliver what you promised, or you didn't. But this thing can't get off the ground without your help. Just the fact you have been here, you could have had many other people here tonight, and given me a chance to use your platform to talk to Liberian people in the diaspora. Look, Liberia belongs to us. We may be privileged to live in other parts of the world, but we also have to remember our brothers and sisters who are living in the homeland and what we can do to improve life situation for them. Guys, let's do it. Let's do it. So I invite you to come along.
Can I do a follow-up?
Yeah, one minute. We got a 3 more minutes. Hold on. We got questions from someone on the line, please. We'll come back to you. Your name and where you calling from?
Robert. You talking or I should talk?
One of the panelists.
Someone.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that. I just want to ask a quick question to our guests. I want to say thank you so much for your speech. It was very, very good, well balanced, and I really, really want to applaud you for that speech. You have something in there for everybody. My question here is, I asked a question in the comment section when somebody was attacking me. Well, I just wanted to find out whether the meeting, the diaspora conference is just about, is it going to be selected for UP folks, or is it going to be for all Liberians? Because as you know, our country is vastly divided. There are a lot of things going on. So I just want to know whether we all are invited or it's just going to be UP folks. Thank you so much.
Excellent question. Excellent question. The conference is open to everyone in the diaspora. As a matter of fact, the registration is free and open to everyone. There's no vetting, there's no payment, there's no credential required. The website is there. Please go on there, register. We're not asking you for party affiliation. I'm not a member of the Unity Party, neither are many of the people who helping to put this together. I do represent the office of the president in this capacity as a special envoy, and I'm proud to serve in that capacity. But please understand, this conference is for the Liberian diaspora. US, Europe, Africa, Asia, all of them have been contacted and advised about this. Excellent question you asked, my sister. Thank you for asking that question. Nobody should attack you. Again, we talk about freedom of speech. You have every right to ask that question. And the direct answer is this conference is not reserved for any one sector of our diaspora community. It's open to everyone.
Yeah, quickly.
Before I go to the next one, let's see. Ladies and gentlemen, it is libdiasporaconference.org. libdiasporaconference.org. If you went to that website, you can register, you can browse. That's what it is right here, libdiasporaconference.org. So,
and that conference is CONF.
Yes.
CONF.
Yes.
CONF, yeah.
LIB, not a whole Liberia. LIBDIASPOR is CONF. Not a whole conference spell out.
Give me one more question. Our guest got to go. So
yeah, let me get my last question, Dr. Dunn. So
yes,
the speakers to this, who are the speakers to this conference? Will be addressing this conference. Who are the speakers that will be addressing this conference? And also, at the end of the day, because we're hoping that resolution from this conference will be implemented. We want to see implemented. And you say you did a survey, but one of the things I think should be part of that survey is governance, in a sense that our term limits in our country, right? For the presidency, the legislature should be term limits, where they have the years should be, look at the years again. We should have a referendum to be done in the next year or so to look at the limits of the years for the presidency, the legislature. We hope the conference can address it so that, because these are some of the problems that cause the country to be divided today. We hope that can be addressed too during the conference.
Thank you. Right now, the only confirmed speaker we have is the president himself. That's going to open up the conference. We have a committee working with for example, talking about migration and reconciliation. We have in conversation with the IOM to help us and guide us in finding non-political person to deal with those issues. On the issue of health, education, and investment, we're looking here within the diaspora. We're looking at Liberians who are engaged in the businesses. We're looking at people who have left the diaspora, have gone back to Liberia and doing well. We want to bring them and invite them to come to share with us as to some of the difficulties in establishing a business in Liberia. This is going to be a transparent conversation. Let's talk about, like I said, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But at the end of the day, we want to come out with the good. So we're looking at someone like the owner and manager of D Calabash. If you've been to Liberia, you have gone to D Calabash, one of the most successful entertainment business in Monrovia. We're talking with trying to talk to Floyd Toma out of San Nicola, if you know about Jungle Water.
Yeah.
Those kinds of people, Miss Esther Griffin, who's in the oil and gas business. We're talking to non-governmental private Liberians who will come and share with us, their experience in doing business in Liberia. We don't want to just come and put, it's all rosy. There are some challenges. So let's hear it. But at the same time, let's see how they overcame those challenges so that together we can learn from them. So yeah, thank you for that question. But we put the speakers pool together as well as panelists to lead in some of these breakouts.
And we invite you to come back before the conference. We invite you to come back.
I would be more than happy to do that. I'd be more than happy to do that. But again, thank you guys. Thank you so much. Again, for those who joined late, I did congratulate the management and team of Closing Argument for the services that you render into the Liberian people. You create a good platform for people to come and dialogue with a sense of honesty, and going back to Mr. Gongloe's a passionate plea, free speech, which I think is enshrined in our Constitution. You provide a good platform for that. Thank you so much for that. God bless you. And I hope to see you guys at the conference. But like you said, Chief, I will be back at your invitation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you very much, Doc. Thank you. Our next step will be, gentlemen, let's do the evaluation here. How was it? And what is your expectation? Has this happened before? What was the outcome? I know Michael Dukakis used to tell us when we were in public policy, it is always beautiful for us to have these conferences and come up with these proposals, but if the implementation stages, that everything falls apart. So how do we collect data? How do they implement it? How do we know they are implementing it? Maybe a year from now, we'll bring Dr. Don back and say, what has happened after the conference? Hopefully, be willing to come back. Robert Garguah, your first take on this?
Well, I think it was great that we brought him on. I received a lot of calls. Oh, man, y'all got the ambassador coming on, the closing argument on the next level. I said, but the closing argument already been on the level. Y'all just haven't been following. You know the kind of characters that have appeared on the closing argument. But you will see more to come, and I'm just proud to be a part of this network, because Gayman for us is not about the numbers. It's about the substance of the discussions that we have, and how are the discussion benefiting the forward march of our country, Liberia. So I listen, we can criticize this government all day, but I do think that this is a great approach. I think that we've talked for many years about the power of the diaspora, and we are very powerful. We send over billions of dollars on an annual basis to Liberia in remittances. What we have not seen from a government perspective is the partnership that creates the environment for more investors. The government approach that encourages Liberian investors in the country. And so I think that it's going to take more than just a diaspora conference to answer all of these questions that folks might have. When you looked at Fanta Kamara and the fact that she, left her luxury apartment, left everything that, her career in this country could have given her, and returned back home to the call of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf for Liberians to return home and be a part of the rebuilding process, only to go back home and become a spectator, when opportunities that should have been given to Liberian companies were given to foreigners, right? So there are many issues here that I believe needs to be addressed. It's unfortunate that the ambassador did not have much time to answer questions, but I think that we've heard enough of the government, Mr. Gayman and Mr. Nagbe.
Robert, excuse me. Let me say something quick. I don't know, somebody keep messing with off Facebook again, so I don't know. Somebody just took off. We keep messing our page today.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah.
Someone is doing it, but I'm working on it in the back. We just want.
I think the main guest. So I don't know, but
yeah, but it's on Facebook now. It's on Facebook.
Sabotage from the opposition. You know that.
Yeah, because every time something I keep seeing my screen, like it's keep going up up and down, you know.
That's not sabotage. Let's
Yeah.
go.
So,
but it's okay now. It's okay now.
okay,
It's
then?
Facebook.
Okay,
Just
good.
work on it.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I think we've heard enough of the government when it comes to what the government should do. I think it's about time that the government hear from us. So when I heard Ambassador talk about the president, opening that speech, I think it should be done the opposite way. I think the president should close that speech at the diaspora conference. I'm not sure if Sylvester will concur with me, but this conference should be about Liberians and all of the different issues.
It doesn't work that way. The president will have to open.
No, but I'm not saying the president should not have a part to play. What I am saying is, I think before the president talks about the government's approach, the president will be better informed or come from an informed place, and after listening to the concerns of the diaspora, whether it's the healthcare, the business, all of the different things. We need to hear the president come to say, listen, we've heard your concern, and this conference I think is very, very important. And in addition to what our plans are to engage the diaspora community, based on what we've heard throughout this conference, this is what we are going to do to start addressing these concerns. But listen, I welcome this. I definitely agree with Ambassador Don. I think he should be given an opportunity. I don't think he appears to be a political guy, even though he works for the office of the president. I think he's fair and balanced, and he's open to the ideas of folks who comes from different political parties. But I think overall, I think it's a great idea. How we go about this and how the government take what we give them to implement and start a concrete process, I think will reflect the success of this moving forward.
Mr. Gongloe.
I know the time was short, but here is my own take. I think I will give a free advice to Dr. Don as the chief organizer of this conference to actually have a different approach, because according to him, it's not looking at what happened in the past. And what happened in the past, there were good intentions and what have you. But that is exactly what is wrong with Liberian approach. Every time we want to just have our own approach, we should take stock. Chancellor actually did have diaspora conference. Ellen Johnson's, in fact, Julie Bryan had engagement, sent delegation. I think I'm sure they were on that. Ellen Johnson said he did have it. Georgia did have it. So I would say, Dr. Don, sit down, take the outcome of the different engagement of Liberian communities in the diaspora by previous administration, issues, challenges that were raised. Look at it, culture like it. Have a shopping list in your hand or summary. So if Mr. Gayman is raising similar issue that was maybe raised in 1990 or 1998, 1999 or so, until I had that engagement instead of dedication. Okay, let's look at it and say 1999, this was done. These were the issues that Liberians in the US or in Europe raised. Today, the same issue has been raised. You put a check mark and say, okay, this is pretty consistent, because it was captured in this conference, it was captured in Ellen Johnson's Saliun, it was captured in Myean, is being captured today. So I think that is a way to look at the issues and the seriousness of it. But to say, I'm just going to look at what is before me now and know what happened in the past was good, I don't agree with that approach, but that seems to be his approach. I think it's unfortunate. I know there are new challenges that didn't exist before, that didn't exist maybe even 5 years ago, but I think it's good to always look at the past records. And the other issue which you mentioned briefly in the passing was, he said you were passionate about it, the liberalization policy. The question of the liberalization policy, there's nothing new about it. Now, he got the confidence of the president. All he needs to do is to go and tell the president, Mr. President, enforce the law. Here is what I know. For example, the liberalization policy. He said, use clothing, use clothes business. It's one of the businesses that only librarians should do. Use cars. It's one of the businesses only librarians should do. Transport business is one of the businesses only librarians should do. But go to Commerce Ministry. These businesses, Commerce Ministry register foreigners in that. When I was at Labor Ministry, it was a big issue. I raised the issue. I call for business registration of any Lebanese or any foreigner seeking work permit. They should bring the company registration, business registration of government. And it turned out a bulk of them are in the industry they shouldn't be. I argued with my boss then that this was in violation of our law. We should send these people to Justice Ministry to be prosecuted. And my boss disagreed with me. But I did argue this. And for me, I was up and in arms to enforce the law. Okay? And I think that should be the approach. We don't need to have any conference about that. For example, Pewee may know the SBA, Small Business Authority. I mean, they actually have a law on that. 25% of all government procurement should be given to librarian businesses. 25% is not being enforced by any government. Anyone who passed that law was not enforcing it. We are doing it in temporary way. Worker is not. So it does not make sense to even talk about it because there are laws there. Government needs to enforce it.
Thank you. Let me welcome Professor Larry Kennedy, the nephew of John F. Kennedy. How you doing? Ask not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country? Welcome, Chief.
And just to be clear, this is the nephew from the poor side of the Kennedy family. So just want to put that out there real quick. So that's
hey man, why gotta be the poor side? Because he's black.
Yeah.
Oh, you see, they got another guy. Yeah, they got another guy.
He won't go by your office asking to bury your uncle. Welcome, Chief.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I listened to the first half of the program, and Dr. Dunn, I love what he was saying. I enjoyed his oration when he did it back home. The call for return to the diaspora, that's a great initiative. But I think what Kehleboe said is so important, right? If you're interested in, if you want Liberians to come back home and invest, you have to remove the bureaucracy. You have to make it easy for people to start businesses. You have to create what we all have heard many times, that enabling environment, the environment that makes it possible that, hey, if you want to start a business, you don't have to go through a whole lot of red tape to get it started. You see, if you're going to do this, you have to address all of the underlying issues that have prevented Liberians from going back home to invest. The security issue. So these conferences are great. They have these noble ideas of doing this stuff, but you don't need a conference to address the underlying issue, because what these conferences tend to do, they highlight the issues that everybody knows exist. You're coming to talk about something. Now, who over here in the diaspora doesn't know that it's difficult starting a business in Liberia to get registered? Who doesn't know that it's not easy to raise capital to finance your venture in Liberia, the access to capital, which is one of the key elements of starting businesses and investing, the access to capital. Who over here doesn't understand that's an issue in Liberia because we don't have a vibrant banking sector? One of the key elements to developing any country is you need a strong banking system. I don't care where you go. You can't find me one developed country that doesn't have a strong banking system. And the banking sector in Liberia is weak. The ability to take money from people who are saving it to people who are interested in investing it is the key element that led to the US economy, the European economies, and all the economies that have developed. That key element, moving money from people who are saving to people who want to invest. But you don't have it that way in Liberia. You try to borrow money in Liberia, it's extremely difficult. You have to know somebody within the banking system. So These conferences, didn't President Weah had a return to Liberia conference himself? Didn't he pay Bakari sellers and other lobbyists in the U.S. to encourage Liberians to go back home and invest? Wasn't there a conference where McIntosh, didn't have an economic conference where McIntosh was put in charge of leading it back home? So they've had these conferences. So what I would encourage Dr. Dunn and his folks to do, first collect the data on the outcomes of those previous conferences. See where they came up short, what changed. But another problem in Liberia? We don't collect data. We don't take surveys of people entering the conference, leaving the conference, and then following up. We don't do that stuff. So it's difficult to have that information. It's all based on beliefs. So it's a great initiative. If you want to read Build Liberia, you need to get the diaspora involved. Really appreciate what Dr. Dunn was saying. But I think you have to address the underlying issue. And what you, Brother Gayman, always saying, you have to touch on the elephant in the room, which is the underlying issues. The security sector, is it safe? So it was a great interview, man. I really, really like what Dr. Dunn was saying.
Great. Mr. Nagbe, this rodeo, you have seen it before. Every president comes to power, they come and want to reconcile. But people are saying, if you want to reconcile the diaspora, you in Liberia, you're not speaking to the former president, you're not speaking to Ellie Johnson Sirleaf, where the reconciliation should be. If you can't reconcile at home, charity begins at home. If the office of the president cannot reconcile people next door, I mean your peers, then coming over here is a charade. It's just a PR stunt. I mean, some people believe that's what this is.
Yeah, look, I think Sylvester here will bear me out. I'm not a diplomat, but when you are interacting, even the body language, the little intangibles, right? They all add up to make the sum total of your position. You heard the, Dr. Dunn here express his belief in the sincerity of the president to do well. I've said this here on this platform several times. Sometimes I even get mocked. Because I believe the president, he means some of the stuff he says. But there is a disconnect from what he tells you and what actually happens. And Dr. Dunn, I worry, he's coming into a space that is cut out for him. I mean, I want him to do well. I think we do well together, the government, the union. And when we all do well, Liberia wins. But he's coming into a space to represent a government that has been, at best, tepid towards a union. The president came here, invited us. We drove down. We went down to Atlanta. We met with him. We had a good conversation. We invited him to our inauguration. He did not even send representation. He didn't come. He didn't even acknowledge our letter.
Wow.
We went to Monrovia. The president, we met with him on a Sunday. He was going to the ECOWAS summit to come back on Tuesday. He promised to follow up. We launched our project. He didn't send anybody. Nobody from the government came. I mean, I can go and cite several instances. And so we in the union, yes, we have called out the government, but there are instances where we've also commended them when we thought they did well. But his job is cut out for him. I believe, I'm not speaking officially for the union, but I believe the union is prepared to sit with him and dialogue and find a way where we and the government can complement each other when necessary. The UN Council see that we just campaigned for it. We anticipated collaborating with the government in that venture. We were never approached. And so, and he tells us he's only here to manage this conference, and then after the conference, then what? I think that question was put to him on several occasions. And I can understand him not answering that correctly because I think that is beyond his assignment. So you come in here and you sit with us, we talk, we develop a plan, you go home, and then what? Are you going to be able to follow through with the government so that we can collaborate where we need to collaborate? I don't know. But again, like I said, I like his enthusiasm. I believe the union will be willing to sit with him. We will dialogue with him, and we'll find a way around this. But it's going to be a tough lift for all the parties involved, you know, because I think the government has a different public persona and a different posture when you meet the government privately. So when he leaves here, I hope when he goes back, he will be able to break through whatever it is and reconcile the two positions that this government is presenting to the union. We are all Liberians. The president of the Republic of Liberia is the president of all of us, no matter where you are. We're prepared to work with the government, and we will call them out when we think they are not doing right by our people. But we think when they do well, we all do well, Liberia wins. And so we're prepared, we'll meet with him.
On Pewee, implementation. We collect the data. We come to these conventions and we make the long speeches. And then after that, nothing happens. What is your take? Because you just came from government. Your government also had a diaspora conference. And I believe you got collected the data. You know, the data is around healthcare, education, poverty, unemployment, the same thing. And talk to us if you came and collected data, implemented some of those things, and what was the outcome? You are muted.
It's a serious problem in terms of implementation, and that's one of the major problems we have. We always, oftentimes, I don't think we're short of manpower. You know, the problem is that the commitment to do things is the problem we face in Liberia. And I believe sincerely, probably, and that's the reason why I was asking the national this year orator, and he seems to be very confident that there's going to be some positive result coming out of this one. And my key point here is that, and as part of these things, and that's one of the reasons why these conferences are well documented, and there's going to be a final communique that will be structured and sent over to the president. And so that's why the president is going to come make the opening statement. He's going to leave, and the conference is going to continue afterward. It's going to be well documented, and fundings from the conference is going to be presented to the office of the president for implementation, if you will. And there where the problem always, there where it gets talked out. When the documentations are done, well printed, put the president photo on it, and present it, and then they put it in, I think what? I call that. And so that's the problem we face in the country. So that's my only fear again, that government going to listen and get these things and fail to do final implementation. And if we start doing proper implementation in the country, I think the country will begin. That's the beginning of the country moving forward, and that's my major concern moving forward. Other than that, we have great people. We have some serious intellectuals that can get the job done. But again, if those recommendations were to move on to the presidency, and that's one of the reasons we need a leader that is bold, that can inspire his followers, a leader that will be fully in charge of what is unfolding. Because if you have leaders that got scattered agendas, and then it's a problem, because we have people within the orbit of the president that do have different kind of agenda, that believe that they cannot work with certain people. So when certain documentation is presented to the office of the president, some of them get those documents stored in the middle, right? So if the president is in charge, heavily in charge, and very decisive in inspiring, make major policy decisions, and then you know that those that are working at the will and pleasure of the president as his lieutenants wouldn't even attempt to obstruct a function of the presidency, because that is tantamount of obstructing, or not, if not obstructing, of trying to usurp the function of the president. That power does not flow. The power that is in the president does not flow to any individual if it will be one of his protégés of that. So I will hope that the fact that he's asking Dr. Don to personally organize this, he's putting some personal sense of urgency to this. If the urgency is there, and after this conference in September, I believe he's coming to the UN next month. If he's here, he's going to come to see if he can attend this conference in Washington, D.C. We all going to, it's all Liberian problem. We are going to attend this conference. I'm sure, Gayman, you're going to be there. I'm sure Professor Kennedy will going to be there. But I think it's not about us attending the conference. It's about us also attending and ensuring that government do the implementation. One of the key aspects of the conference that the doctor spoke of is the issue about the dual citizenship thing also, right? That is a very key aspect. The dual citizenship law that was enacted, you put some conditionality attached to it. You need to remove all the bottlenecks, those conditions. If Professor Kennedy were to be citizen of Australia, America, Canada, UK, it does not stop him from being president of Liberia. He's a Liberian-born citizen. You cannot say certain condition Gayman or Pewee cannot, because Pewee is a citizen of Australia. Then I can be president of Liberia, though I'm a natural-born citizen of the country and what have you. So we need to restore in that deal. It will have to be restored to remove the conditionalities and move on. Another thing is the liberalization issue. It's important that the president implement this and the government, via the Ministry of Commerce or all those institutions, ensure that we implement this very well. The liberalization, there are certain laws, businesses that Liberians only have to be reserved for Liberians. How are we supposed to engage that to ensure that the implementation of that is going to be met? I mean, these are very important things. The issue of nationalism and the issue about the concern as to, because the diaspora Liberian play a very pivotal role towards even keeping the country economy on the wheels, right? In terms of keeping the macroeconomic stable, the stability of the economy. It's also tied to us outside the country. So we can also play a very pivotal role back in the country and making sure that the country democracy is enhanced, is protected, and all those things. So my concern is that the president will be coming next month. He's going to come and listen to everybody, and he's going to speak and leave. And then afterward, going to be well documented, presented to his office. Immediately after that, we hope if the president return at the end of September, late October, we'll be having some beginning of implementation. Probably he will move to be the first and redo this legislation about the dual citizenship. That's the first thing we want to see the president do first. Do it and present it to the legislature, and the guy's going to work on it, and then pass that, then begin the process about implementing businesses that the president should do. If we were to do that, it's going to help us a lot.
Good. Mr. Garguah, the former president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, invited young folks to come to Liberia. I know 3 of those right at the top of my head. Ratel Paley was one of those. Kao Famule was one of those. Famata Kamara, the young lady that was here, she was one of those that went home. There's several of them. And the president said that education was a mess. She tried, but she ran out of time. Now, Joseph Boakai being the vice president, knowing where they left off with education and all that, why would he have to come here to listen to what he knows? The president, the former president, his former boss, have done all the numbers, done all the work, and said we ran out of time. Now that he's here, why don't he just pick it up and run with it? Why come here to ask us what is the problem in Liberia?
Well, I think that's buttressed the point that Professor Kennedy made, and which I concur 100%. You know, I'm young enough to know that the problem is that we don't know what our issues are. I don't think that's the problem, right? Every one of us have great ideas, and we have some we're cognizant of what some of the issues are in Liberia. The problem is knowing what the issues are and doing something about it. I think doing something about it part has been our problem, which goes back to the point that I made earlier. We do not need to listen to the president to tell us about what his agenda is when it comes to engaging the diaspora. And I fundamentally disagree with that. I don't think we need that. If we're going to reinvent the wheel and the president wants to start fresh, I think the president now needs to listen to us. The president needs to listen to the frustration of folks like Fanta Kamara. The president needs to listen to the frustration of all Liberians who have taken the risk. They left, went back home. They spent 5 years, 6 years, a lot of money, energy. And what did they get out of it? Zero. They got nothing out of it. The president needs to listen to us. And I think listening to us is not a bad thing. It's a good thing because now the president will understand why previous approaches did not work. Previous approaches did not work, not only because those leaders did not have the political will, patriotism to get things done, but from all indication, they had not listened to Liberians. The only people that listen to us per se, not with the exception of when they vote, are those we help. That's just, I mean, this is just a fact. So for any diaspora conference, from an engagement perspective, from a conversational perspective, or dialogue, the president and the government must be willing to listen to us. After they've listened to us, they must be willing to say, you know what?
Excuse me, guys, if you're not speaking, can you please mute? We're hearing a lot of grounding in the background.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Robert.
They must be willing to say, you know what, we've heard you guys, and you've told us the story about why things have not worked in the past, because this is not brand new. Other governments have tried this before. Why have they not proceeded after? Why have we not seen the needle move? Why have that not been in progress when it comes to engaging in diaspora? The last point I want to make here is, Dr. Don talked about, just watching the engagement of others. I specifically brought up Jamaica. And I asked, what was the objective? The objective when it comes to diaspora conference is focused on economic growth. This is the reason why the Jamaicans are doing so well when it comes to tourism. They don't have better waters than we do, but they're generating close to $4 billion annually in tourism revenue. People don't depend on government jobs. The government job is not the most luxury job in those countries. Those countries are not developed countries. They are not considered developed countries. Ghana has done the same thing. It's focused on economic growth. Is the government willing to listen to the experts on tourism, folks who have the academic and practical experience? Are they willing to listen to, yes, it's great that he mentioned the guy from this Calabash, right? And I'm sure he has a lot of challenges. But what is the main objective? The main objective cannot just be the president going to come and address us. No, there has to be an objective that focuses on some of the most important key sector in our country right now that is struggling. The private sector is struggling, even with the foreigners leading the private sector. They're struggling. What can we do differently when it comes to how can we create an environment from a government perspective for more Liberians to go and invest? I know a bulk of Liberians that are investing in realtor in Ghana. They're spending $200,000, $250,000, $500,000 to invest in Ghana. They have Airbnbs. We need to ask those folks, why Ghana and not Liberia? Why Ghana? These small investments go a long way. They do. And until we have a government who listens to us, the diaspora, rather than us listening to them, I mean, it's difficult I don't know how this is going to work.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow we're going to have the Honorable Nagbe Zeze, the chairman of the Liberia People's Party, coming to talk numbers. We are coming to talk numbers. Tomorrow is Nagbe Zeze. Larry Kennedy, Professor Kennedy, if you have time tomorrow, come on. We are going to be talking about other things, talking about the budget. We're talking about we're going to be talking about the Executive Order 151. How does it affect the Liberian people? We're going to delve into that. So don't miss tomorrow. Tomorrow is Nagbe Zeze. Honorable Kennedy, they are coming here. We'll tell them that the city need to be clean. We need sanitation. We need garbage. We need all of these things. They live right there. They see it. The former president, Ellen Johnson, said it maybe a month or two ago, that the city is absolutely filthy. Something needs to be done. All of these things, they are there. Why come I here to hear the same thing? Why not just do it like the Nike for just do it?
You know, one of the things that you got to give Liberians credit for, they love publicity. You know, they will not miss up the opportunity to come and talk about something that we know about, but they should be working to fix, and they haven't fixed it. Look, Liberia is a country of paradox because we have an abundance of sunlight, yet we have an energy crisis. We have an abundance of rain. Liberia is Monrovia is one of the rainiest capitals, but yet we have issues with drinking water. People are drinking from creeks. You have issues with cholera. You got diarrhea. I think it's probably within the top 5 that's killing people in Liberia. And you talk about the numbers. Well, let's do the numbers. We know that Liberia received between 2005, and you're talking about Ellen Johnson leaving the education system being a mess, between 2005 and 2025, from the U.S. government alone, Liberia received between 700 to 900 million. And from the World Bank, Liberia received between 600 to 700 million. Liberia received 1.5 billion just for the education sector. Yet 51% of the population is functionally illiterate. They cannot read a fitting sentence. They cannot read a sign. That means when we in the marketplace, cannot use calculators. So the issues, we have to understand the underlying issues, why this exists. Between 2013 to 2016, Liberia received almost 1.3 billion for the healthcare sector. Yet 9,000 babies died before their first birthday in 2023. 43 babies are dying 43 out of 1,000 live births. Babies are dying in Liberia. And they received 1.3 billion in foreign assistance for the healthcare sector. Look at other countries that back in the 60s, we were pretty close to, countries like Singapore, South Korea, all these countries, we were close to them in terms of development capital. Singapore, number of babies that are dying, 2. Unfortunate as it is, the number is 2. What did these countries do that we have talked about it for years? We can't seem to solve the problem. But you notice recently the whole the argument, that being trending on the headlines, the whole fiasco with JFK. You see, it's the policies, it's the fact that we don't look to see what the underlying issue is and address that issue. Monrovia wasn't made to hold the number of people that are currently in there. That place was made for about 200,000 or so people. I estimate there's probably about close to 1 million people living in Monrovia. It wasn't made for that. Why do people move to the cities? Because that's where they see the job opportunities, the opportunities to earn a living. So as a result, 70% of the population that is poor live in the villages, and we don't focus on that. The population is growing at a rate of over 2% on a yearly basis. It's not sustainable. It's one of the highest in sub-Saharan Africa. So you're looking at about 100,000 babies born each year in Liberia. And if you're not creating jobs that has twice the number of your growth rate, you're putting more people in poverty each year. So these are some of the underlying issues. Liberia has received money. We can argue that some of the money hasn't stayed in Liberia. You can look at the central bank reports and see on remittances that a lot of money have left Liberia. But we need to look at the underlying issues, why these things exist. Look at countries like the Seychelles, one of the richest countries in Africa, just gained independence in the 70s, 1976, I think to be exact. Look at countries like Botswana. Botswana gained independence, October 29th or so, 1966. Botswana is 59 years old. What did those countries do and the GDP per capita in Botswana is like around 7,000. In Seychelles, it's like 29,000. What did these countries do? They just didn't have conferences after conferences and discuss their problem. What you said, Mr. Gayman, holds true. They implemented. President Boyka said this on the campaign trail, that we failed to implement. So having another conference is not the solution. It's great to discuss it, but what Mr. Nagbe, Brother Garguah and Brother Gongloe have said is We need to implement. You need to implement. Because there is no way after 178 years, you should have a GDP per capita of around $670, when Singapore, that you were close to, has a GDP per capita of $92,671. Look at the gap. So rather than focus on these things, we end up castrating each other sometimes on social media rather than help each other. Look, when you look at social media, I'm going to say this. Until you join social media for countries like Botswana to see what they're discussing, you wouldn't understand why those countries are developing. And in Liberia, when we're on social media, we end up castrating each other as opposed to dealing with the issues and trying to come up with solutions. You know, so look, I love the fact that they're coming out here to talk about the trash, to do all of that stuff. But the solution to that would be, hey, why can't you guys set up a biofuel project in Liberia where you can take trash and convert it to energy to light up a village or something? What is stopping you from doing that? Oh, you know what's stopping them? They don't hire people built on meritocracy. They put my cousin John's brother in there, who was once a plumber, to come and become the guy who's going to do the electric grid. It's not built on meritocracy. So the countries that have developed Botswana, I remember specifically one of the ministers said, we succeeded because we hired people based on meritocracy. Lee Kuan Yew, when he came into Singapore, he did the same thing. He did it based on meritocracy. We put people in very high level positions, executive positions, that has no practical experience in there. They may have read something theoretically in a book, but they lack the practical experience to be doing that job. But yet, because they supported you during the election, perhaps they related to you, you put them in a position, then you wonder why you end up with so many protests after protests, and you end up with a high unemployment rate. And Madam certainly said it. You can't keep this number of young people unemployed and expect peace in your country. Eventually, it will blow up. So it is a risk to Liberia's national security, the number of young people that are unemployed in our country. But again, without implementation, we will be back here, Brother Gayman, next year discussing the exact same thing.
Before you go, my friend Joe Moyu is saying something that I think we also, he is talking about if Liberia can send nearly $1 billion home in remittances, right? Why shouldn't we do, or at least have an idea of a diaspora bond for special infrastructure, like maybe roads, agriculture, whatever? Why are we doing that?
You see, Brother Joe Moyu, what you're saying, my man, it is so true. And the reason why the diaspora bond will work, because if you're selling securities in the United States system, you are subject to the Securities and Exchange Commission rules and regulations. You're subject to the Federal Reserve Bank rules and regulations. You're subject to FINRA and these other rules and regulations, so that if you were to do something, they're going to grab you and throw your butt in jail like they did to the finance minister from Mozambique. So the diaspora bond is a great idea. You can use it for infrastructure. Liberians can buy into the bonds, let it pay an interest rate of maybe about maybe 7 to 8% because of the risk. You know, there's some sovereign bonds out there. I've invested in some sovereign bonds as well. There's sovereign bonds out there that are very risky because Ghana defaulted at one time, mind you, right? Didn't Ghana default on their own sovereign debt?
Yeah.
But Liberia, they will have to pay eventually, right? But the sovereign bonds is great. You put it in the diaspora, they invest in it, but make sure the person you're putting in there to manage it has that financial acumen to do the job. Don't put what George, we are calling them ice cream and all that other nonsense. Don't put them in charge of managing the sovereign bond. But Myean is absolutely right. Do the sovereign bond, fix the roads, put a toll booth on that road, put some cameras in there. Anybody stealing the money, throw their butts in jail. Do that, you will build your infrastructure. Everywhere in America, tell me, Brother Gayman, the New Jersey Turnpike, I-95, I-10, all these major highways, they are financed through muni bonds, municipal bonds. The government paid back an interest. The U.S. borrowed tons of money through U.S. Treasury securities. They paid back an interest on that. you use the U.S. banking system to do that, people would be more inclined to invest in it, because if you cheated anyone in America with some financial scheme, some money laundering, they will come and get you. That's how the finance minister from Mozambique was picked up, sent to the U.S. District Court for the Southern District in New York, and he was put on trial. And I didn't follow to see the outcome of whether he was actually sentenced and sent to prison. But he was traveling, I think, in 2018, and he had made a stop over in South Africa. And the U.S. immediately called and said, "Yo, hold that guy." And he was in prison for years in South Africa until he was extradited and brought over here to New York. Joe Manu, absolutely correct. Do the diaspora bond. Put people out there in this kind of conference to have the conversation with people that invest in it. That's how you build your hospitals. That's how you build your roads. That's how you reinvest in the country. Other countries are doing it. Rwanda had one. I think Kenya had one. And anybody who else is on this call who knows that, you can probably touch on it as well. But I agree with you.
Robert Garguah, we have one of your friends. Okay. Mr. Gongloe. Gongloe is going to blow up there. Mr. Gongloe.
I'm not talking about Robert where I met that he just talked for him.
No, go ahead, Mr. Gongloe. Go ahead. I made it to it. Go ahead.
There's a gentleman
I'll come after you, sir. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We have a gentleman by the name of Dualu. Dualu introduced search concept, and they have done very well raising money. Gongloe, you are a statistician, you know the numbers. He's talking about not only the number, but trust and capability. Your take on that, on the idea of what Joe Manu is saying.
Well, I'm not going to make comments on that, and I think I still believe.
That's what we're talking about. That then you say you don't want to make. Then what you want to make comment about? You want to do something totally different?
Because I think I have.
I want to make comment about Niba Kante.
Okay, go ahead.
I've never used it. No, the thing is, Jerome, I've spoken to Dualu on this, and I think I had a conversation with Professor Kennedy at one point even when Dualu then started talking about this, we've been around the block for a little while. I'm not just going to jump into anything. We've seen so many of those kind of initiatives in Monrovia, Springer, and people follow it. And at the end of the day, people start to cry. I'm not saying that's going to be the situation, but just not even addressing the merit or the substantive issue. For example, Dualu was on Spoon Network. He disengaged. And I really felt like, okay, he's undertaking a serious business. He was trying to get out of the politics and then all of the.
So he not doing serious business?
No. So where is he now? He's on Cash Reloaded. Okay. So I see him there every night now on Cash Reloaded. I tested and I said, I thought when you left Spoon, I was actually excited that this guy is getting serious. But you learn bike on Cash Reloaded. No. So you can't mix this thing here. If you're going to take other people's money, but then you are cozy with corrupt government, then I'm a little questioning myself here. Should I go that route or not? So that's why I don't even want to comment on that, because I don't want to be seen as spoiling somebody's business. So that is my reason. Okay. So I just want to go back to even some of the things Robert, Mr. Kennedy, and all of us have said. And listen to all of these great panelists. I think maybe the response from tonight, we should tell Dr. Don, thank you, but no thank. We'll not come to your conference. We've said, Liberians have said so much. Look, because the role of government, Reaganomics, President Reagan was very clear on that. Government role is to create the regulatory framework where businesses and ideas can thrive. So the responsibility of the Liberian government is to create that framework, that atmosphere, that transparency, where Liberians don't even need to do anything. We can go and queue on the line in Monrovia and get whatever they want without going to no government office. I think we should get to that point. We're done talking a lot. See what they did. They passed a discriminatory law, the Koiwa, or Liberianization law, where if you're in the diaspora, you got second nationality. You can only be director or civil servant. You can't go for any elected position. It's discriminatory. It's there. It's on board. You know, even the issue Mr. Gayman raised about no, I think it was that Gayman or no Tomalin about reduction of the terms of elected offices. It was in the draft constitution as drafted by Dr. Sawyer that the presidential term would be 4 years, renewable for second term, and senators would be 6 years. When the guys went to Banga for revision of the constitution, it carried the Senate to 9 years and president to 6 years, because all those who attended that conference, bulk of them were contesting in 1985 election. They saw their personal interest that, oh, when I'm elected senator, I'll be there 9 years. And it is still the law. When President Myean, which was a very brilliant proposal to reduce the term, let President Joseph Newman Boaka led the opposition to reject that beautiful amendment proposed to the Liberian Constitution. It behooves the president now to look in the view mirror and say, I think I was wrong when I acted this way. Let me undertake the Constitution amendment under my administration before 2029. I think that's what he should do. He doesn't need diaspora engagement on this. We say a lot. The Liberalization laws are there. Enforce it. I mean, just do everything. If you enforce the law, the Garguah Commission, Scout Commission under Gross Scout Commission under L.M. Johnson study, we did recommendation. Even the Law Review Commission has done recommendation on different statutes and different laws to reconcile the inconsistency. The incoming Chief Justice, Bassey, has also said there are inconsistencies in the Constitution. It needs revision. So everybody is talking about President Boaka, move on. You don't need to listen to us. There's so much already there. Implement it. When you start to do it, then we know, Mr. President, we can now come and talk about the gaps. But this whole idea, like Professor Kennedy said, we are just good at talking. We want to create a talking shop. And everybody will be fronting, oh, Mr. Gongloe is good. Let just go talk. Because that's what we love. I think we should tell Mr. Don, go tell the president, thank you, but no thank. Go implement the laws. I think that's what we should do. And that's my position, even on the drug advocacy. I think the demonstration is like, is that tomorrow? Tomorrow, I am going to post on my Facebook post or page today that demonstration is we're not addressing the issue. We can go and say no to drugs, but the drugs prevalence in the country, I think the origin is in the Civil War, because war laws were drugging young people to make them brave to go fight. But in the last 22 years, it is the UP and the CDC that have actually increased the use of drugs in the country. We should say no to these people just as we say no to the drugs. We can't say no to drugs and have CDC or UP in power. It doesn't make sense.
Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow, 5 o'clock, Honorable Nyankwe Zeze is going to be here. We're going to be talking numbers. Come and talk about, he's talking about $200 million that were borrowed by this administration quietly. He's going to tell us how it was done and why they did it. And hopefully it can become part of that discussion in Washington, D.C. Honorable Nagbe, we are talking about, before I go to Robert here, we're talking about implementation. We have talked and talked and talked. Some other folks came over here. They promised the union they were going to play 300 million, whatever, 300,000. You're going to build some community centers in Liberia. People were clapping. We have been around this over and over and over, and we ran back to where it has always been. Another conference, which is like a committee where issues go to die. Your take on this?
Yeah, there's some kind of static coming in.
Yeah, that's from Pewee.
Yeah.
Pewee, can you mute?
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Jerome. Look, implementation, and I'm not an economist, so I would just go by the little of what we were hoping to do together with the government of Liberia as a union. we were trying to put in place a plan that will allow you and I here. And I understand EcoBank is doing this in the region already, where you and I here can begin to pay mortgage on our houses in Liberia and do away with all the nephews and the nieces and the uncles. You know, you send your money, they build your house first before they build your place. We brought the guys in. We had conversations. We told them Liberians, we have a precarious credit situation here. They understood that. And we told them we wanted you to structure the mortgage so that you can pattern most of the people here in Susu. They understood that. They were prepared to play ball. We wanted the government of Liberia to help us put in place a mechanism that will accommodate this. So we were going to talk about that while we were in Monrovia. Like I said, we didn't get to meet, government people. Why is Sandwave still getting money doing business in Liberia? And Larry and other people will explain that better. We have Liberians here who can do what Sandwave is doing, and that money goes to Liberia. We put it back into the economy. When you send the money to Sandwave, you pay a fee, and then when Sandwave delivering in Liberia, they pay a fee again. Why? That's a lot of money that is going out of Liberian pockets. We thought we could do that with the government of Liberia. 2023-24, somebody already, I think Robert said that we sent home over $800 million Liberians. That at the time, the budget of the government was about $738 million. So that was even bigger than the budget of Liberia. We're not saying we're going to pour that money in government pocket, but we were looking at what is happening in the region. Every December, Nigerians, Ghanaians, they go home. They call it Debtor December or December to remember. They go home and put their money back into the economy. Their countries become a vacation destination for them and their children. So we wanted to also do that. And that's why we embraced the diaspora return that happened last year. And like I said, it didn't get off well. And we still think we should do this. We are trying to find a way to better the lives of our people. And we hope the government will see that for what it is. Most of our guys here, the union has a history of people leaving here going to work for the government. I get it. And that's their right. They should do so. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But most of the guys who are here, really, they're established already. I don't think they're looking for a job to go do that. But there is an artificial divide between those of us here on this side and the people back home. For whatever reason, some of the people who don't want to see you and I in Monrovia are friends who all went to school yesterday. So we wanted the government, during last year's conference, there was a provision on the program for a peace conference that Wetty and I were supposed to facilitate. We wanted to bring in the government people, the diaspora people, and begin to interact, hopefully to begin to chill, to break that ice. All of these things we can do along with the government of Liberia. But when we go so, they go so. We come so, they go so. We're dancing jiggy ball. Our own government, you understand me? We want to be able to vote while we're here, Jerome. You tell me, if I came here and said, Jerome, pay $100 for your voter registration card, will you not be able to pay that? Somebody say, we have about 800,000 here. You know how much $100 per voter registration card will give the government of Liberia? We're trying to help them, and they're acting that we should be chasing them around. No, we're not going to do that. No, we're not. We love our people, but our government has to be serious. It has to be serious. There's a lot of ways we can have. Look, Jerry Rawlings, he did that with Ghana. The diaspora is really is an integral part of the fabric of Ghana. We should be able to do that. We can collaborate with the government and do a lot of good things together. And so we're not closing the door. We're very, very hopeful that, Dr. Dunn will come together and say, I'm not speaking officially for the union because we haven't taken a position yet. But I don't think there's anything wrong with us collaborating with the government when we have to. And I think we should do that. And I hope we will. So that the government will help create the situation where you will want to take your children back home, for the Christmas break. Maybe they can give Royal Grant a tax break so that they can give you a discount on the room. You shouldn't be paying $150 to $250 per room in Royal Grant, $500 for a suite. And then you got to go and spend money at the Calabar. You're talking about, they can probably talk to Seleke Kromah to give you a little cut, a little discount. All of those things that they will incentivize our going back home. But we wanted to do this with the government so that together we can put in place the mechanism that will help us do all of that. And we've been trying to negotiate, to dialogue with them, and they're dancing jiggy ball with us. So, like I said, I like his presentation, his comportment, his view on this matter, Dr. Dunn. And I hope through him, the government will begin to reorient itself. As we have not closed the window yet, we intend to do that because we're not doing it for the government of Liberia. We're doing it for our people.
Thank you.
We're doing it for our people.
Robert, most of the folks that are causing the confusion are the guys for the diaspora. His own buddy, Anthony Cassidy, was president or chairman of the board.
All this I said, this is the only thing you took out of it?
Anthony Cassidy I think was the chairman of the board, EULA, president of EULA, whatever it was.
One-time president, yes. One-time president.
The man is sitting in the president's office as deputy minister for state. And Victor went to Liberia struggling to dance Kehleboe with the president. Can you imagine? So when the folks see others say, you guys, you just sit on TV and talk all day, you mean nothing. You can't blame the people that we are the problems in most instances.
Well, you know, this is the issue. I think I alluded to this, and I think Sylvester and I was commenting on this the other time, is that, isn't it interesting? I think this needs to be studied, right? It's interesting that you can connect with people professionally when they're not in government. They're more receptive to engaging with you. And these are people that know very well. And many of these people, you'll be surprised that before they even got in government, they did not hesitate reaching out to you for help. I know plenty of them. But some way, somehow, as soon as they are given a position, whether they're making $2,500 a month, whether they're making $3,000 a month, and whatever extra money they're making, some way, somehow, they can no longer have the time to connect with you, especially for folks who are going back home. I know plenty of folks in government that, you know, they always say, Robert got beat mouth, but I can back this. I can back this stuff up. There's nothing that I need from any government friend in Liberia. But you will be amazed how you get back home and you call folks that would have been happy to answer the phone on any other circumstance. But now that they're in government, and that you criticize the president a little bit, even if it's constructive. Now they'll pick up the phone. Oh, my man, I'm in a meeting. I'll call you back. My man, can we meet for lunch? Yeah, we can meet for lunch, maybe 2 o'clock. And you never hear from them. Some of them don't even call back again. So this is, I don't know what that is. But when they get out of government, then they try to reconnect with you. I don't know why is that. You talk about, that's my uncle. Anthony Cassidy is my uncle. These guys have been in EULA for a very long time. And I'm sure he knows my dad very well, Mr. Garguah. You know, my dad is a pioneer of these organizations in the diaspora. He started Uniboy. He played an integral role in Uniboy and the Boston Association in the state of Georgia. Same as the Liberian Association in Georgia, right? But it's funny that when my dad is in Liberia, I tell him all the time, please do not call these guys because I know a buck of them. Don't call them. You don't need to call them. But when you make a phone call to do lunch with some of these guys, you don't need money from them. You're not asking them to pay for your lunch. 9 times out of 10, you're going to pay for the lunch and the drinks anyway. But somehow, some way, they do not have the time. I think that needs to be studied. But I want to go back to Nyenwolo for a second. But before I do that, I just wanted to say, Mr. Nagbe, I think I don't disagree with what you just said about the discount in government. Just coming from the hospitality background, I do not want government getting involved in contractor discounts when it comes to, diaspora businesses. I think diaspora businesses are equipped enough, and I think people have enough money to afford $150 per night. The issue that I have from a tourism and hospitality perspective is, if I'm going to spend $150 at Royal Grand Hotel, then the services must match what you're charging. If I'm going to go to Nima County at the little mountain place that they have, and they're charging $250, then the services must reflect what you're charging. I think the conversation we need to have now from a private sector perspective is,
what are some of the benefits that are given to employees of these companies? Not the foreign folks that are asked to come to Liberia, not the front office manager that are coming from Italy or from somewhere in Europe or South Africa, not the general manager who is from Europe or some Asian country. I'm talking about the front desk agent. I'm talking about the security guard. I'm talking about the servers, right? All of which are Liberians. What are some of the benefits that they have? Do they have a 50% benefits on hotel discount? Do they have a friends and family benefits? Do they have any healthcare benefits? What are the benefits? So when we talk about tourism and the growth of that sector, this is why I get so pissed off when the tourism ambassador comes here and talk about taking pictures on a private jet, taking Liberian food and posting it on Facebook. These are the bare minimum. This is not what tourism is about, right? It's about what kind of incentives. Even if we go, the country do not even, the universities don't even have an associate degree in hotel management at this point. And so even if a company were to go and do a 3-month certificate in service, we still need a plan from that perspective. So listen, instead of doing political science, because not everyone can become a politician, you should go and get a 6-month certificate in bartending. Go and get a 6-month certificate in rooms operation. Go and get a 6-month certificate in hotel management before we start going over to the universities, right? What are those as incentives when you're paying this guy $200? So there are a lot of things we can do that if my cousin worked at Royal Grand Hotel, if my cousin worked at the Boulevard Hotel, and I have a business, I'm able to call my cousin and say, listen, I want you to put me on your discount. Get me a discounted room because I work for this company. We do not even have that because the government have not created a private sector environment where these investors understand that people who work for them deserve these benefits. Okay, so I don't want the government to get involved in giving incentives to my business because I know that it's not going to be for free. I can afford $150 if I decide that I will stay at a hotel. But if I am going to stay at a hotel for that cost, then again, it should match what it is that you're giving me. I don't want to sleep on the hard pillow. Do not even have the option of getting foam pillow, for instance? They don't even know what foam pillow is. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of dysfunctionality going on in the sector, but most of these hotels are called 5-star when they're not even operating at a 2-star level. So that's a conversation. I don't want the government to get involved. I wanted to create an environment, give the expertise, the ability to run these sectors because they know exactly what it is that I needed. Last point I want to make is Dwalu. I think what Dwalu did was when he started the funding, the diaspora funding, I personally spoke with him and I said, listen, you're not going to be successful when you are seen as a political guy. You can't ask citizens who don't agree with Joseph Boakai that I'm the guy to give your money to and we're going to invest. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You cannot convince, just the way how Sekou Kolasco would not convince you that he has this funding company and you should give your money to him to privately invest in Liberia. You're gonna look at him like, boy, stop playing with me, because he's close to the president George Weah, and there are serious policies that people don't agree with. In order for this stuff to be successful, not only do you need people who are experts in the money and in that area, but you need independent minds. You need people who are able to go across the aisle, the political aisle. You need people who are trusted. And that's the reason why he left Spoon. Because my thing is, you can't be talking down on the very people, ideas, whose money you want. He left Spoon. Apparently, it didn't work. I'm surprised to hear that he's back on closing argument. They were supposed to invest $1 billion. I think purchasing a share in that company is not a bad idea. But you've got to be able to be disciplined. I don't think Dwalu has exhibited the discipline to earn the trust of folks across the aisle. You can't, and he can't help himself because you can't be like, he's not like that Professor Kennedy. Professor Kennedy during George Weah administration was very constructive in his criticism, to the point where people thought that he was a UPS or Unity Party supporter. They've learned quickly now that he's not. He's a patriotic Liberian professional, because the same guy who was constructive against CDC is currently constructive against Joseph Boakai, even though at the time he felt like we needed leadership and Joseph Boakai could have been the alternative. Now he's saying they're totally different, but he's able to speak truth to power. Dwalu have not positioned himself, Mr. Gayman, to say, I'm able to speak truth to power. I supported this guy. I supported change. However, in the last few months, in the last 2 years, Joseph Boakai has not delivered change. And I can retreat back to my independence and focus on a more bigger picture when it comes to this whole diaspora fund. And so for that, I think it's going to be very difficult to be successful, because people who do not agree with his ideology, people who do not agree with his political position, would not be a part of that funding. This is just a problem. And that's just, and I think that's reasonable.
Great.
Robert, I take your point about, the facilities and discount and other. Like I said, I preface my intervention with the disclaimer, I'm not an economist, but I do understand. I hear your point. The general premise of what I'm saying was we just wanted a way to constructively engage with the government that will benefit our people. Right. That was my point. But the point you're making is worth taking.
Thank you.
Professor Kennedy, he's talking about when the lower guys at the company gets paid, there's an incentive for things that loss prevention. In this, in a professional sense, you call it loss prevention, but stealing. Okay, if a person has a job that means more to them than taking a sandwich or something like that, they will think twice. But if you are paying them slave wages and they can barely pay their way to go home, it becomes a problem. So yes, for those who are into the economy like you guys do, I think we really need to have a conversation on compensation and the connection, the bridge between compensation and loss prevention.
Yeah, I think there was a World Bank funded project. One of the key objectives of that project was to make sure that people are properly compensated. If you want to deal with corruption, to make sure people are not stealing, you have to compensate them properly, right? Because if you're paying somebody, $25 an entire month, and that person have a family to feed, it doesn't create the sense of patriotism, because when they see you flying private jet and they have to live off $25, they see that kind of inconsistency in the socioeconomic system. It would influence them to be corrupt. When the three tigers, right, Taiwan, Singapore, Hong Kong, those countries were extremely corrupt. But when you go back and you read how they dealt with corruption, one of the key things Brother Gayman has said was, well, we need to first find people who are patriotic in the society. Next, we need to make sure that civil servants are properly compensated. So if you're not compensating people properly, it will force them to do what they need to do to survive. But you also need to have a strong judicial system. Part of why the developed countries have grown is not only do you have a strong financial sector, you have a very strong judicial system. You cannot have a society where the president can remove, despite how incompetent the central bank governor may be, the president shouldn't have the power to simply replace the central bank governor, ignoring the act that created the central bank. The president shouldn't simply have the power to create chaos within the legislative branch to simply remove the speaker. No matter how unpopular the speaker may be, but just doing it in that manner, even when the Supreme Court has ruled against you, it shows that the rule of law is not fully, it's not, they say justice should be blind. It's not blind. So those are some of the underlying things. So when you're having these diaspora conferences, they are meaningless if you don't deal with the underlying issues like the judicial system. We know the judicial system is weak because the Supreme Court can rule and people can just ignore it. So when Brother Nagbe spoke about people paying mortgages and stuff, the first thing that crossed to my mind was, what is the process whereby if the bank needs to foreclose on a house because somebody didn't make their payments, how do the bank seize it? Do they go through the same administrative processes, notifying a person, giving them a chance to, catch up and things like that? How is it done? Is that process in place? Because EcoBank and those banks might be doing this loan right now. Everything might be hunky-dory. But what happens when they start missing payments? Are they going to go seize those people's property? So you need to have all of those things in place. Because the financial crisis that kicked off in the US back in 2007, when this huge investment bank that no one thought was going to fail, Lehman Brothers, was investing heavily in mortgages. And when they failed, it woke everybody up. And then we saw what happened because banks started seizing a lot of people's properties. But the US system still had a judicial system to make sure some people were protected. Do we have that infrastructure in place in Liberia? So Brother Garguah's point that he made, some of the people there who are in government today were once close buddies who you could simply pick up a phone and call them, but now they seem removed. You try to reach out to them. It's like they see your number, they see the number, they know you calling, but they chose not to pick up the call. And then wait, by 2030, they'll be anxious to get in touch with you. You know, especially the ones then who would make that fight for a 10-year position because they want to stay in government, but it's not going to work. Then all of a sudden now they will have this epiphany that, oh man, look at Robert. I ain't speak to this guy in 6 years. Let me call him up, see how he's doing. You know, this is the society. We're in such a polarizing, political driven society that we're not thinking patriotic first. We're not thinking the rule of law. We're not thinking economic growth. We're not thinking Liberians helping Liberians, but we're thinking how Liberians can get over on other Liberians. So, look, it all comes down to the leadership. No matter what you do in Liberia, it comes down to the leadership. The game plan that we have in Liberia right now to develop the economy, that game plan hasn't worked since the 60s, which is this dependence on concession. Concession agreement has never worked. It's never developed any country. It is never going to work. You got to come up with what Brother Joe Moyu said earlier with things like financial instruments, diaspora bonds, and things like that to grow your economy. That whole dependency on foreign aid, President Trump was a wake-up call to African leaders that depend on foreign aid. When he killed USAID, he tried it in 2017 when he cut the State Department budget by roughly 30%, and the Democrats fought against him to stop that. So I knew it was coming when he won this election. I said, this guy's going to nuke this whole USAID idea. So right now, the reason why the government of Liberia is struggling, we do not have the money. We're depending on money from the World Bank, from the IMF. It is not sustainable. Not for a population of 5.5 million people, not sustainable. So the government also is in heavy debt. I'm telling you, the situation in Liberia is precarious because when the World Bank and the IMF reported that Liberia is at a moderate level of missing the debt payment, that is scary because when they miss that debt payment, who are they going to go to now to borrow money? We saw when Ghana defaulted, Ghana was able to get bailed out by the IMF. But if Liberia missed a debt payment, the IMF World Bank is going to freeze the money. Where are they going to go? So Liberia needs to come up with a plan to raise money, get the diaspora involved, but do so in a way that is not polarizing. Do so in a way where you're putting experts in the right position to get it done. Do so in a way where you're respecting the rule of law, and do so in a way that is dealing with the underlying issues, the implementation that we've been talking about. So I tell you that until we have that sort of leadership that can step up to the plate and make these things happen, we would be like every other poor African country. Before I head out, there's a program out there I tend to watch a lot. It's called Deadliest Roads. It's on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you look at all of these African countries,
scary stuff.
It's scary stuff. They all seem to have the same underlying issue. Politicians, countries that are rich in resources, but the people are dirt poor. Why? Because a few people have fought their way into power. And now, like what the former vice president said, Joe Howard Taylor in Pennsylvania, it's their time to eat. It's their time to eat. So they forget about the rest of the population. These countries have very poor roads, so you can't get the produce from the farm to the market. There's spoilage because you don't have refrigeration. They all have the same underlying issue. Then you don't have the means to raise capital because like Liberia and I think maybe 8 other countries in ECOWAS, they don't have any credit rating. They don't have a sovereign debt rating from Moody's, from Fitch Investor Services. They don't have credit rating, so they can't go to the sovereign debt market and do Euro bonds. They can't do it. But it is what it is. It is what it is. So, Garguah, 6 years from now, hopefully I'll find your number. I'll call you.
Let me quickly. You don't give me 5 seconds. Let me quickly. You asked a good question about, say, being able to pay mortgage, in the the fashion that we live in Liberia, in Africa. And again, these were emerging discussions. We hadn't really reached the pinnacle of what we were trying to put together. But the thought was, first of all, we were trying to get them to draw up the payment based on our Susu circle here that we do here. Most of the people here, they're people in $20,000, $40,000 Susu. And we weren't looking for 15-year mortgage or something. No, some of the things we're talking 5 years, 3 years, and some of the buildings, nice buildings, but they were going for like 50,000, 85,000, not the 250, 300,000. So we're thinking, the president will come and sign up. I think you have to put $50, whatever it is. They structure your stuff, and you pay as you maybe 2-3 payments as your Susu comes down. And then again, we were talking, someone would be designated, your Susu goes straight to this person. But we were trying to find a way to make it work, and we were hoping that the government will also give, for instance, what we understand the guy in Somalia, where they set aside a whole piece of land for people in the diaspora, something like that. So you don't even have to worry about going there to buy land and all of that stuff. But again, these were just emerging discussions, and we hope that this is something that could still happen, depending on how the government will be prepared to engage with us. Maybe we'll come to guys like you to help us kind of pass it out.
Let me say this real quick. Yeah. Roughly 30 years ago, there's a professor from Stanford University, an economist, who did a study on something that deals with setting up a mortgage system in sub-Saharan Africa. I took that study, evaluated it, and I built upon it and came up with something. And based on my 30 years or so over on Wall Street, came up with something called some sort of a trans-global mortgage investment program. But it needs to be substantiated. It needs to be funded not only by the government of Liberia, but it also needs the support of the Federal Reserve Bank in the U.S. because the moral hazard of lending money to people in Liberia is they may not use that money for the intended purpose to go build a house. Exactly. So that's a moral hazard, right? So what you need to do is, okay, listen, if they don't have anything to lose in Liberia, they can default at any time. Take that money, go sit down in Kepamas or go sit down somewhere in Nimba and be saying they're doing gold mine when they still use the money to build a house. But what you do is you're able, well, I'm not going to get into details of that research. That's another story. But let me say one thing real quick. Joe Money.
I see Robert is taking notes. Robert is taking notes.
There's a number I'm a miss, and I get worried when the new progressive is just quietly sitting. He don't normally just quietly sit.
I know, right? He's more dangerous. He's less dangerous when he's talking, right?
No, I'm quiet today because Gayman just deliberately involved me. So
okay.
So
Honorable Pewee, you are next. This is for you, Honorable Pewee.
Before you come in,
no. I'm following.
Yeah, go
Before
ahead,
you come in, I just want to say
when you land, let's go to Pewee. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, I always tell people all the time, Mr. Nagbe.
Robert, I think Larry didn't land, though, did he?
Yeah.
Caught him off.
Yeah, I just want to say something real quick because
go ahead.
Yeah. So the book that Jerome just raised, right, Why Nations Fail, by Acemoglu and Robinson, the economist, right, I think over from MIT. In fact, they won the Nobel Peace Prize. They did this extensive study. They won the Nobel Peace Prize, I think, for this year. They did an extensive study in terms of why countries are so poor, why they fail, don't seem to be getting out of this poverty trap. And then he used examples from a town over in Naganos, Mexico, compared to the same town. It just split, I think, by a river or so. And it's the same town in Arizona. But in Arizona, the people are doing so much better compared to Mexico. The reason being is the political system. It's a political system. When people get into politics, they set up this, they rig the system to keep everybody else out. The system is rigged. These guys did extensive studies, and you can go time and time again over history. You will always see a political system where the group of, you see how the group that came in now, they're not taking your calls? Because the system, they were rigging the system to make sure that nobody else has an opportunity, which is why some of the conferences don't seem to succeed, because the system is not inclusive. It's not set up in a way that people in the diaspora can be included in the development of the nation. So they can have all of their conferences. We've seen it. Yeah. We know it's a great opportunity, but it just doesn't seem to work because we have a political system where a certain group of people have a tight grip on it. And in order to fix the country, these people have to let go of that grip, and they will not let. We're expecting the people who are enjoying a corrupt system to fix that system. It will never happen. It's not going to happen whatsoever.
Yep.
Wow.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you.
Mr. Pewee.
Nogales, yes, Nogales, Mexico.
Mr. Pewee will come in. Let me just say,
you're going to be fast now, because when you say 1 minute,
very fast. Thank you, Mr. Gayman. Very, very fast. I just wanted to give Mr. Nagbe and Mr. Kennedy credit, because every time I listen to them, they bring a wealth of knowledge and wisdom to the conversation. And you know what I always ask myself? I say to myself, why is it that, right? Put politics aside. Why is it that we don't have a government after the election that can really sit back and say, you know what? Election time over now. Who said this? Who didn't say this? Now it's time to govern. And because I have an agenda, because I have a legacy, and I asked the same question during George Weah, former President Weah's administration. Because I have a legacy, and my legacy is more important than a political reward at the detriment of that legacy, it's time now to recruit people with not only the academic, but the practical experience in their particular area. You listen to Mr. Nagbe, and you listen to Mr. Professor Kennedy speak. You listen to Gayman speak. And these guys are Liberians. It won't take much for you to have these guys come back and participate in the process to make the process better. But our government do not make the effort. In fact, they see them, they appreciate the wisdom, but they are just saying as politically not safe. Why? Why? If Mr. Nagbe, I don't think people in this country, and I'll close on this note, Mr. Gayman, people in this country, even those who live here and went back home, I always tell them, we will always, God first, we will always be fortunate. I do not expect anyone who lived here with a U.S. passport, a green card, and work in Liberia for 12 years, unless they're stupid, because there are people who've been here for 30 years, don't have a single investment in Liberia. But I do not expect smart Liberians to go back home and depend on government job necessarily. There are people who are building better homes than government officials who've been there for 12, 20 years. Why do you see these people as your enemies rather than partners in success and development? Why? I just wanted to say that because these are people who can add a lot of value to the table. These are people who companies will be proud to consult with. But in Liberia, they're saying that's a taboo. Why? It blows my mind. It baffles me. But go ahead, Sylvester.
Mr. Honorable Pewee, you know, you want to talk to people who will bring something to the table. You see, Joe Moyu, the guy we're talking about, you talk about wealth of information. Done it, been there. We do it for you for little or nothing, for the love of country. Why would you bring 500 people from all over the world together when you get 3 or 4 people you can bring together and say, you know what, this is what we do. You got expertise in this. Because one of the poisons in this book they talk about is a nation that depends on the extractive industry is bound to fail. If that's all you want to talk about, iron ore and gold and diamond, you're going nowhere. Honorable Pewee, your turn.
Well, Jerome, before Sylvester, what we were trying to look into, and I'm sorry, Sylvester, just 5 seconds. we were trying to work with the government so that we can probably help them, not silos, but put together a white paper, a consortium of economists here. If you need economic advice, go here. You need medical advice, go here. You need education advice on education, go here. We're trying to do that. Just people, let Mr. Manju here, who may just have maybe 3 months at a time or 2 weeks at a time. They just want to give of themselves to their country. Maybe they will not even charge anything. And I think that is still possible. I know a lot of people have tried it. It hasn't worked, but it doesn't mean we should stop trying, But
thank you.
To you, Sylvester.
Honorable Pewee, your turn.
I'll be very brief. Honestly, was the book, when I started reading that book, it was one of my professors that told me he was a friend of one of the, his relative was a friend back in the days of one of the author, James Robinson. And because I think two persons combined wrote that book. I don't know if that's the book I read. Yes. Darren and James Robinson. One Darren, yes. But Jerome, the point here is that we've contributed to why, and part of the reason why we failed or we've done nothing in terms of is that we've done nothing to empower. And the book also mentioned that if you any nation that want to prosper, we have to invest heavily in her people, right? And give them prospect and give all the opportunities, if you will. So we have to do a lot, and I agree. Look at where Robert is talking about here, that the tourism area, we have hotels that are not even 2-star, but we consider or not giving the service, but the country will sit and allow that happen. There's nobody bringing nobody to book yet to bring them to check as to why is it that you're doing? Because you're not doing that to Liberians. You're doing that to the partners that should be attracted to your country. Because the services they were getting in other countries, they're not getting it. And mind you, hotels are very exorbitant in Liberia.
Oh, yes.
They are very exorbitant in Liberia. Then why were you charging that kind of exorbitant fees?
More expensive than some places in Europe and America.
Oh, exactly. On a serious note.
And the sad thing is, exorbitant, but like you said, Robert, most of the time not worth the price.
And that's it. And the way I'm headed, you cannot charge exorbitantly and you're not giving the service, right? So there was a night, the former deputy minister we were in London at the Premium Inn. It's one of the big chain hotels in London. A lot of it. We're spending around $80-90 pounds. It's a big time 5-star hotel. It's right one of the very huge ones situated right to Heathrow Airport. Very comfortable hotel. We're paying around that amount. If you hit it up, it'll be like $120, then about US dollars. But first of it,
it's an iconic hotel too, by the way.
Yes, then we start reflecting. Well, go to Royal will be charging you $250-300.
Yeah.
Go to even Lagoon will be charging you $90-120, right? $90-120. Why would you be doing that? So we're not paying attention. That bro, listen, if those guys loading guy would just come, the only thing is the guy to get the guy that bought the ministers that is heading particular sector. What do they do to have that person number? Every month they're taking care of that person. Well, they finish. Nobody going to ask question. No one going to go and see how the dealing with the employees they have. No one going to ask question. Nobody. You can recall there was a time a learning guy took something and on one of the employees. It brought serious thing during the job we are doing. The guy tried to bleed from the nose.
Yeah.
Yes, and the issue, the crowd, the outcry came up, and I think the government was pushing that he be deported. You're pushing the government to be deported. You arrest him immediately and put him on the next flight.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they didn't even have appropriate work permit to come and do these things. So we have to do a lot of things, and the reason. And these kind of conferences, and I'm understanding why I'm not pivoting, but I'm understanding why Liberians are getting tired of over hearing about conference. And around you right, the president comes to well, because the president kind of open his lead, and immediately they don't get tired as to what's going to be the outcome. But in mature and a very structured and organized country, if the president came and spoke, and he don't want to be part of it. Afterward, he will ensure that the report will go on his desk and he start the implementation. But trust me, we're going to sit next year, by the grace of God, next year this time, and we'll be asking what was the outcome of September last year, a conference. And that's one of the reasons why, because he personally asked Dr. Don to spearhead this issue. I believe they're going to find some money. They're going to pump into it. I'm going to know. But again, the orator was not very clear as to the exact amount. And I was keen to understand what exactly he said, but government will be putting some money into it. And, you know, and again, that's where the problem is. And we should not be scared to say some things sometimes, right? Because government going to pump some money into this thing. The government want to find some favor with other people that believe that are reputable, that got some reasonable votes, that people do respect, and that's why they're trying to get very close to this. You see, the president afterward, he met with the orator. They're on the phone. They continue talking. They're going to get some money for this issue. Is this still meant as a public relation mechanism for the government? Is it going to just be for September gathering? And trust me, I'm going to put some time to go and see what the conference is going to, because we're going to be pushing them to implement this. So Jerome, honestly, I'm going to be part of it. I don't know if Raul going to come, but I'm going to be part of it, and I will encourage us to be part, because they say put your mouth where your money is, and it's our business. We're going to be part of it. I may not wonder what I would not do. I will not eat on their food. I will be taking my own lunch because I don't want to sit down, but I will attend the conference. Send our country. I will drink some of the water,
But
and I will
not
take note. And I will advance, I can't do the full aspect, but I will take note, and will advance our points, because we all collectively believe there are certain things in that point that we all can support. They will have to implement. But the country got a long way to go, Jerome, a long way.
Well, you know, for me, the reason, for people like us who have been with big organizations like the United Way and all of the Chamber of Commerce, when you go to these things, the breakout section to bring people. When it's done, once it's packaged, it's ready for implementation. If this is what this is what we're going to do, that's what it is. In fact, because it is intentional, okay? Like we went to a conference and the folks said, listen, our job is to go after one company that is in Chicago. We want that company in Florida. That is the goal. How do we do this? Script. We want script here. Whatever it takes, you'll come up with the know-how, and we're going to go after script. We want our research center in here. What does this company want? We'll go for it. Single subject matter goal. This is what we're going to do. They were not all over the place. We want a research center. They are into gene therapy. We know it's the future. We want it here. And they went for it. So when I go to the politically motivated stuff where people just come out and speak and speak and speak and get flowery and all that, you sit there, you say, you know, why would I want to even waste my time to go out here when I know the outcome? This thing is not going anywhere. When it's done, it goes to the president's desk. Then they will decide, well, which one goes to the ministry. You say, talk about tourism. Okay, tourism going to go to the Ministry of Information. This one going to go to that one. After they have taken it apart, it's done. You won't hear anything. And Dr. Dunn tomorrow, when you call him a year from now, he will be so embarrassed that he will come here and say, you know what? I can't tell you, but I don't have the information. Let me go and get it. That's the talking point. That's what everybody says. I don't have it personally, but let me go and do it. He means well. He is the guy that could do it, but he doesn't have the power to implement anything. So this is where we are. We got 5 minutes, guys. Let's do our closing. Let me start with Robert. Robert, let's do a closing.
Listen, I think it was a great show, and congrats to the closing argument. I'm not sure when the airing starts on
Monday.
Monday, next week Monday. But I think we're making some big strides. I think we're doing great. The country is listening to us, and I'm very, very proud to be a part of it. We'll not talk much, but we will show out and show up. We'll show up and show out at the appropriate time. But listen, it's always good to be a part of the conversations. I wish the Dr. Don all the best. I think he means well. and I'm hoping that you know, we see some movement with regards to these conversations, because if there's one thing we all will concur with is that when it comes to talking, we're good at it.
Oh
But
yeah,
when it
and
comes to
writing too, and writing papers. We are very good at writing papers.
we're good at it, but when it comes to the action, you know, when it comes to the doing, the do, people talk the good talk all the time. But when it comes to like just putting to text and implementation, what they've talked about, you know, we somehow fall short on that. But it's always great being on, and always great, you know, engaging with all of you guys. The wisdom and the knowledge and the experience is always great. And last but not the least, to all my buddies, if you're not talking to me, I'm not calling you when I get to Liberia. Not talking to me while you're in government. Don't talk to me after you leave government. I don't let fake friendship business. If you're in government, you can't talk to me. You know I'm in Liberia. I don't care to see you. I don't need you anything. But if you're not talking to me, don't try my number after. Don't call me asking me, hey my man, I ain't the other player. What the next thing we're doing? What our hotel name over there? Don't call me. I will not answer my phone. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Mr. Nagbe.
Yeah, I hate to burst your bubble, Rob. I hate to disappoint you, but some of these people in us are in chat rooms together. You know, they're taking the attitude they will not even comment anything. So, but anyway, I'm sure
they're
you
not
know.
commenting. Now they're not commenting now. They're just watching they're reading the comments.
Yeah, watching the show. But let me thank Dr. Dunn. First of all, thanks to our colleague here, Abu, for reminding us today of the incident that happened in Ghana. Actually,
we addressed it the first.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, so much sympathy because I heard about it from Chief Tomalin George first when he posted it, you know. But condolences to the people of Ghana. But thanks to Dr. Dunn, you know, I like his attitude towards this whole thing. I'm hopeful that you know, in spite of my apprehensions and let's just say I'm hopeful that you know, together we'll be able to do something, collaborate with the government of Liberia and the union. We're looking forward to that meeting. You know, we hope you know, we'll be able to come up with something. I looked him up. I think this is not his only engagement in government. I think he is a presidential envoy on philanthropy and other things. So I think he's still going to be around in the government. I don't know exactly what that means, whether it is a full-time engagement or, you know, but at least his engagement is not just limited to this conference. So that is reason to be more hopeful. Hopefully he's going to be around and, you know, help to influence some of the stuff. Like Robert is saying, you know, we all Liberians. And you know what, Robert? I don't give a rat's nose who talks to me or who doesn't. You don't. But I will tell you, if you're in the government, you sign up to do good by our people and you are not, I'm going to tell you, if you don't talk to me for the rest of our time on earth, good riddance. I don't care. This is not my dad's farm. It's not your dad's farm. This is the government for and by the people. So if you take up assignment, you better be ready. If you're not doing what you're doing, we ask the president of the Republic of Liberia, as this speaker who just left here indicated, as the regional bank president and several thousand other people before them, fire them. Fire them and bring in the best and the brightest. And if the president is smart enough, which I know he is, and I'm sure he's coming around to it, this is his own legacy. Everything that happens here will be the sum total of his legacy. If he wants to leave good footprints on the sands of Liberian history, he will clear out the deadwood, the ones that are not performing, kick them out, kick the bumps out. So we look forward to collaborating with Dr. Dunn. Hopefully, you know, together we can do something together, you know, so that we can find a way to engage with our government economy and help bring some relief to our people. You go home, some of the people who you hire to do things for you, you put money in their pocket, that money goes into the economy. So great show. Thanks again to TCA for this forum. Congratulations. I know they're breaking new grounds. They're doing big things. You know, that's why some of them are now on say, you know, Raul with the Pina, we sitting there, what a big thing.
Yeah, we're watching them.
Breaking ground.
Thank you. Honorable Pewee, close on this. The ombudsman gave a recommendation about 50 names. He said they're supposed to be fired by the president. And I think Abu Kamara made a comment. The ombudsman not serious to recommend that where he need tour, where he need tour LPRC.
He must do it. He must do it. Yes, he must do it.
He must do it. He says the ombudsman might be crazy by asking Immature to be fired.
Not only that, he's not going to fire. He's not going to fire Mandela Cooper either. They got plenty of names on there. That's not even going to happen.
I know. I said almost 50 names on there. Yeah. So that's the you are muted.
Again, quickly, that would be some level of deep hypocrisy there, because the president and led communication in firing the then Director General of the Liberia Fisheries, Emma Glasgow. He did mention the ombudsman that she disrespected the office of the ombudsman, and the ombudsman had recommended that she be reprimanded. It was part of the reason why she was dismissed. So they set a precedent already. I don't know if and that is the difficult aspect of governance in Africa and Liberia. You want to have a sugar daddy deal with certain people. Certain people are privileged, they are protected, and then there are certain people that are not privileged because they don't have some connection within the presidency. So whenever they make some just petty mistake, they're out. And then so if the ombudsman office, and you see that ombudsman office is a toothless bulldog. It's a very ugly big bulldog there with no teeth to bite. Yeah, you see it from distance, you know there's a and ugly bulldog, but actually no teeth to bite. So it's a
calm down, Sylvester. Don't get too upset. Calm down.
Yes, but sometimes a sad day, so we don't love to and we'll end on this note. Yeah, because
the bulldog had danger.
Yeah, have you the last time I was imagining I went to the mall. I went to the mall, right? To King of Prussia Mall. When I went to King of Prussia Mall, where I parked my vehicle, there was another couple came to park their vehicle right there, right? Getting out of my vehicle, at the back of their vehicle, I saw a huge bulldog, very ugly bulldog. Though the face of that bulldog I saw, right? I said no, but
that breed is always never that pretty though. The bulldog,
and the office of that ombudsman. And when I saw that bulldog, at the lower part, there's no that I said no, I can't be afraid of the guy, man. So that's an ugly bulldog in that office of the ombudsman, got no teeth to bite, and they're trying to do what they're doing there. So that's what's going to happen. So if the ombudsman office was just created with mere issue to decorate that office or to prove to people that we are appointing this office, but the office is going to do nothing. The only people probably the office will push against and the president listen will be those that got no backing in government, those that they just accommodating, they won't get out. So for instance, it is second for you.
With no connection. They're just there.
Connection. The ombudsman probably will be sunny, but the 15 need you hear that. Gayman, nothing gonna happen on a serious note. It's unfortunate. And I don't know where we headed. We're just gonna wait for election time and see how we can get these people out of power, and that's what's gonna happen. But for now, it's that time. And the reason the guys came to power, they didn't come to power to fix the problem in Liberia. And that's one of the reasons why we're now saying today there's a need for this tail wave. Because now, let's agree that if the CDC were to come back tomorrow, the government will say to you, the thing guy will say, oh, we'll stop the project, you're arguing, we'll stop the thing, come here. Or they will start going up because the first time CDC didn't go after them. But this time around, they were red would not see that kind of a red, bro.
No, so I know you ain't learning yet, but Rabbi, I forgot I got to thank you for the kind words. And let me just say, guys like yourself, this is your time. Guys like us now, you know.
Nagbe.
You know, so yeah, go ahead.
If CC, the day you hear Joe, we are president, the arrest will not see that kind of arrest before ever in the war. Oh yeah.
You got my wife.
That's why Abu Kamara said. That's why what about the Cassidy said? We are united, but we know how to win election. And we're not happy.
You know what somebody told me? Somebody told me, say, even friends to Joseph Boaka causing them will be arrested. It was the news something.
So listen though, will you blame them? I think they've learned their lessons.
I won't. I would. But listen.
But I'll tell you this though, if George Weah got re-elected, I think the CDC made a lot of mistakes. And I think if they were ever to be given power again, I think that George Weah and the administration, I think they'll be wise when it comes to the appointments made. Look at people like the former Solicitor General. This was a man who benefited with 3 different positions in this administration, to the point where real citizens were mad because he was not seen to be one of the guys in the vineyard. Now he's talking about you can't speak. So you have all the problem with the president dancing, singing, from assistant ministry of agriculture to solicitor. You mean to tell me you didn't raise any of this concern until after the fact now?
Right, I mean, what favor from Boaka? I feel what he's looking for. He's not serious minded person. I feel what I'm looking for. And I may say CEO to come up, we're arresting for lying and prosecuting the wrong people too.
Like Alex Cummings. You know, so CDC, I think they'll learn our lessons. They'll learn our lesson. I would agree with Sylvester.
A lot of things going to happen.
A lot of arrests made. A lot of arrests.
So these people, you see, the Mo, the Patrick Honor, these are guys that were very loud. They're very Amos Twe. Very loud. You think the minute do anything to transform the life of the Liberian people? Go to the minute individual life they live now. See the way they live. You will understand that the advocacy was not meant to change the life of the people of Liberia. Yeah, Patrick was there hustling. He was angry. When he said one thing, Patrick was only talking about the shoe Joe we are wearing. Shoe that Joe we can afford to buy.
But even Mo Ali, I saw Mo Ali one time at D Calabash. Was it D Calabash or no, Alalagon? These people were struggling people. I saw him one time. They were introduced to our friend at D Calabash.
Yeah,
the thing is not even. These guys.
Very much.
I don't know.
If the current information minister here in the US, anything he hear, he will run with it. You know, he basically he will say, okay, then now he's getting there. He see somebody went, they illegally did a video filming and they got.
Mr. Gayman, our man, the current minister of public affairs, the current minister of public, what's his name?
Kesali.
No, not Kesali, not public affairs. Transport. Is that no Giddens?
Oh, Giddens. Public Works.
Public
Works. The man was a bit. Oh man, but Giddens really earned his spot though. Giddens was on this platform throughout the election, the campaign. I was like, wow. I said Giddens really earned his spot. Now, man, I'm not sure if you follow the closing argument, but Giddens was making the case for 4 months straight, to the point where Giddens were interrupting the entire show.
Yeah.
But now you don't get much from Giddens.
Well, you got it coming because Mr. Chesson was on here last night and he really he zeroed in on him and he intends to come back here again on several occasions.
We called Chesson. Chesson said no. Chesson said he want to. He said he want to debate his boss.
Yeah. Chesson got in his crosshairs. So
he's afraid. Okay, guys, it's after our time. Let's do this tomorrow.
You guys. Thank you very much.
Guys.
Have a good night.